I had a song that I was struck on, and I liked it. And it's called He Had a Long Chain On. You may have heard it.
No.
I did it on a record, but I had a hard time getting to do it. I went over with 12 songs. I sent them over to Chet, the ones I wanted to do on my album. And it was Tall Tales and Song, I think, was the album. And I got over there, and he said, what are you going to do first? I said, I want to do The Long Chain. And he said, oh, Jimmy, that's crap, only it was worse than that, what he said.
Yeah.
He said, you don't want to do that song. He said, you'd be boycotted all over the country if you do that song. So we went ahead and did 11 songs. It was an afternoon, did it in one day, even then. And he said, well, Jimmy, that's 11. Why are you? I said, Chet, please let me do The Long Chain. He said, okay, but the band's not going to help you. He said, you just have to do it without the band. I did it without the band. And that song made 100 times as much money as all the other songs in that album. Odetta, this great Negro singer, did first. Then Peter Paul married it. And it still makes money. Now you want to know the truth about the song? I'll tell it to you, which kind of hurts the song, once you know it. In our country, where I live, when the Civil War came on, the men in my county, which was not even a county then, the next county up above, they said, we're not going to fight against the United States government, we're not going to fight against the United States government, we're not going to fight with it. We're going to stay at home. I thought that was the only place in the world that's happened, but it happened in other places. I found out since then. We're going to stay at home. Well, they got a word from both sides they'd have to be examined for the Army. They stayed home. Now, I suspect that if they'd have gone of their own free will, they'd have gone with the South. I suspect they would. But finally what happened was that it was the Confederates that came up and captured them. Confederate Army came up, had a division come up, and they captured them, 100 of them. And they tied them in threes. They chained them in threes, 100 of them, so that there was one man left with just a ball and a chain. And they marched them over 100 miles to Little Rock, down the old Ox Road. And the man in the middle had a rough time, didn't he? You can imagine about the old Ox Road. They took those fellows as far away as Atlanta, Georgia. Every time one of them got a chance to get away, and many of them were killed trying to get away, they came back home, and when they came back home, they visited with their friends, and they went north and joined the Union Army. Now, this one, though, that had the chain on, there's a creek near me, Sillamore Creek, full of willows, and the story always was that when they crossed this creek, if the man with the ball and his chain got away, and that he never would let anybody take the chain off of him. And I heard Alan Lomax telling one time about the song, and he said, this man wore this chain symbolic of what slavery could do to the white man, to the slave owner as well as to the slave. Of course, that was his idea, you know. You know Alan, I'm sure. And but when I was a child, our mamas didn't scare us if they wanted us to go to bed with the booger man. They said, you better go to bed. I think I heard that man out there, that long chain. And I can tell you, they were rail fences and they were picket fences. I've heard that chain many a time. But you know what I'd have done? I'd have sworn. Back then, I'd have sworn that I heard that chain.